Alright. I see my car on screen. Oh, yep. Actually, this picture must have been taken a while ago.
Every day in business starts with a number. Output, productivity, efficiency, all measured in numbers, because data drives decisions. And if fire or water damage strikes, the numbers for your business can slow or even stop. Unless you know this one, 1-800-SERVPRO, the number one choice in commercial cleanup and restoration.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Welcome to Sliced Pizza Bar, where we're passionate about great pizza. All of our food is made fresh daily using only the finest ingredients and techniques. Our chefs put their heart and soul into each pie, and we're sure you'll taste the difference. Located on both the Indian Rocks and Madeira beaches, chances are we're right around the corner for your next pizza night or dinner date. Come give us a try and experience the slice difference.
Let's go away from Daytona, USA. Come on.
Hello everyone, welcome live to 3Y TV for tonight's broadcast of the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown race number 7. It is the Firecracker 200 here at the Daytona International Speedway, the world center of racing. We have 80 laps, 200 miles to determine who makes it into the ASRS Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series season playoffs. I'm Peter Short. Joining me in the booth here tonight is Greg Renson. Greg, huge night here tonight. It is the cutoff for the round of 12. We'll find out which 12 drivers make it into the playoffs. They've been working all season long, and it all comes down here to tonight in the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown, race number 7.
11 spots are booked, Peter. Only one remains of the 12 eligible, and we're down to 2 drivers in this series. For this one, it's going to be Woody Mahan in the number 84 and Chris Bouchard in the 50. Those are the 2 that will be vying for the final playoff spot, Peter. Entering tonight, advantage Bouchard, 21 points to the good. And we'll see if we can get a look at our current point standings for the rundown of the final playoff spot. Here it is. It's all on the 50 and the 84. Bouchard with the advantage right now. That win at Pocono did not lock him in because he missed a race. That means Mahan still has a chance, but he's got a lot of work cut out for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, down at the bottom, you see that red line. That's where you find Bouchard and Mahan. But look up at the very top, John Jenkins and Greg Evans. Evans has run down the number 7 of Jenkins over the past couple of weeks. We saw Evans have a couple of races of bad luck. He turned that around at New Hampshire, and he's ridden that high. Now only 1 point behind John Jenkins coming into the regular season finale here at Daytona. So that's going to be something we have to keep an eye on as well. Last week, well, Greg, I got to say, we were thinking that number 2 machine wouldn't be able to turn left or right. But he did. And not only did he do it, he did it very well, taking the win at Watkins Glen International by 10 seconds over the number 18 machine of Doug Mullins. Woody Mahan finished in third, and Greg, Mahan had a great week last week. If he can do that again this week here at Daytona, we will see that number 84 in the playoffs.
And he had some help, Peter. The number 50 of Chris Bouchard had connection issues while running up near the front, might add. So he had those connection issues, dropped him out of the race. You see, outside the top 10, that was big for Woody Mahan. Set it up for a shot here at this one, as you see the race results on screen from last week. But qualifying is underway here at the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway. We are on track for qualifying session. 80 laps going to be the distance tonight. One guy who's out of the mix for the playoffs but is looking for that breakthrough victory is this guy in the number 66, Ed Bray.
Yeah, Ed Bray, Boswell's Country Roads on that machine as he heads down the backstretch. We'll see him run high on lap number 1, and then we'll see him drop down to the bottom on lap number 2. You see him right up against that wall in that great paint scheme. I love that number 66 machine. That's the paint scheme he's been running all season long. And make sure you join us right here on 3Y TV on Thursday night, where we have the Boswell's Country Roads Harley-Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Cup Series. We got a fantastic race lined up for you this Thursday night. Make sure you don't miss it. There's the number 14 of A.J. Digby, winner a couple weeks back at the Iowa Speedway. Had a pretty good qualifying lap last week at Watkins Glen. Couldn't quite back that up with a top 5 finish, just rounding out the top 10 at the Falcon Race Wraps at the Glen event that we had last week. There's the number 72 of Krobach. A little bit of a different paint scheme on that number 72 this week. We'll see if perhaps that gets updated between qualifying and the race. Not 100% sure, but Michael Krobach out there on the racetrack. And there's a number 6 machine, Jared Haggerty, Cheerwine. Great looking paint scheme as he tries to get his fast time in. And look at that, Greg. That number 6 so far fastest here in qualifying.
He is on top of the charts. Remember, practice time's not really going to reflect qualifying because it's all about the draft for the fast practice lap. Single car qualifying, it's what you got hammered down all the way. So practice times normally we could get a feel of who's going to be fast. Not the case here tonight. You're looking at Jason Stewart. He's got a new look on board here with another car. This is the 24 of Alan Young we're on board with, coming to complete his first lap. Right now, Ed Bray is on top of the charts at a 47.617. Just for reference, average time in draft practice was high 45s, low 44s, high. I cannot talk today as well. Low 45s, high 44s for reference. Whereas fast time right now is a 47.614 by Cody Spiker. He just went to the top in the number 19. So a lot of 47.6s. Peter, looking at the chart, the top 27 all in the 47.6 bracket.
That was one thing I was noticing, Greg, as the number 24 of Alan Young. He's going to put in his fast time here. One thing I was noticing about the 66 of Edward Bray, as well as the number 1 machine of Jason Stewart, was just how smooth they were getting through the corners. That, of course, is going to equate to speed here at Daytona. You have to be smooth around this racetrack. You can't scrub speed. If you scrub any type of speed around this racetrack, it is equal to time loss. You're not going to gain that time back up. This is a momentum racetrack. You got to keep kind of like a go-kart, where with a go-kart that's a little bit underpowered, you have to keep your momentum up in the corner. Well, here at Daytona, similar principle, just a lot bigger racetrack at 2.5 miles. So definitely great to see here at Daytona a little bit of that skill even show here tonight. There is a new paint scheme on that machine right there. That's Todd Kirkwood in the number 86, working his way now into turn number 3 and 4. We'll have to see what he can turn in that number 86 Ford Mustang as he flashes by our camera here down onto the front stretch. Still Cody Spiker in the number 19 machine atop the board. Can the number 86 unseat him? He is going to put that number 86 into the 32nd position. Greg, pretty good field here tonight. Looks like 37 cars here set to do time, with Christopher Bouchard and Brandon Stokes, the 2 drivers who have yet to present their car here in qualifying. So maybe Bouchard is thinking, I'll start at the back, see if any of the craziness happens up at the front, because every time we come to Daytona, we always talk about the different strategies There's the strategy where you want to be out front, you want to be ahead of the big one, or you want to be far enough behind the big one that you can put on the brakes, slow down the car, and keep it in one piece. What strategy do you think is going to win here tonight?
Typically, my strategy in play racing is option B: stay in the back and hope to dodge the big one and just let it all unfold and go for it at the end. But in experience, we've seen it works about 50-50. Sometimes running up front is the winning move. Sometimes running in the back and dodging all the mess is the winning move. So it could go either way here. Myself personally, I like to hang out in the back and try to dodge everything method. That's just me. Update on the field for qualifying. Bouchard still yet to go out. The guy he's in the battle with, Woody Mahan, is 20th on the charts right now. So as of now, Mahan would be starting up in front of Bouchard by 16 or 17 spots, depending on which driver he iRacing puts in front of the other, between Bouchard and Brandon Stokes, who also has yet to present for qualifying. That's big because it's only 21-point differential. At that moment when the green flag falls, the lead would go from 21 points to either 5 or 4. So big moment there at the start. We'll see if Bouchard can make his way through the field, or if Mahan can slice and dice, get himself up in front, and find himself in a position that Bouchard has to work his way up even more.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely something we're going to have to keep our eye on from start to finish here tonight. But huge shout out to John Jenkins, Greg Evans, Tyler Seville, Will Worsler, Brian Yazik, Michael Krobach, Adam Jersky, Jimmy McKee, Troy Haight, Jason Stewart, and Alan Young. Those are the 11 drivers that we alluded to a little while ago that have already qualified for the Hacksaw PC Playoffs that begins next week. We got a throwback event next week. Greg, it's round 8 of the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown, and we're going to Darlington. I'm sure we're going to see a couple cars get their Darlington stripe next week.
And not only that, it's throwback night next week in the ASRS Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. And Peter, we've seen it on Facebook, a lot of really nice looking throwback schemes coming your way on 3Wide TV next week. I mean, who doesn't love a good throwback race? We always love it. It's always one of the favorite times of the year when NASCAR comes to Darlington. Love seeing the ASRS welcome that theory in, and really looking forward to seeing the throwback schemes these guys can present next week.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's also money on the line next week. They're going to do a vote in the ASRS Drivers Committee on Facebook, that drivers group. They're going to do a vote for the best paint scheme, and the best paint scheme is going to win $50. So that is really cool to see, not only those special paint schemes on the track next week, as we see a Boeing 737 coming into landing on the backstretch. They're just getting straightened out. Microsoft Flight Simulator came out today. I'm sure some people here on the racetrack probably pretty hyped for that. I know I am. I actually landed an aircraft just a little bit before. Carlos Acosta here in the booth with me is also pretty hyped for it. So we're going to be flying together, but as that 737 pans out of the view, we're going to see some cars flying around Daytona International Speedway here in just a brief moment. Huge shout out to some of the people in the chat. Jim Foose saying, on behalf of Hacksaw PC, SERVPRO, and all of our partners, we hope you enjoy tonight's show. And we definitely hope you enjoy tonight's show as well from up here in the 3Wide TV booth, the DMLC Racing channel in the chat as well. Nikki Worsler, Seth Olson in the chat. Aunt Cappy, how's it going, Aunt Cappy? Hope all is well with you, Nikki Worsler, rooting on the Will Worsler Racing teammates. And, well, Greg, we saw the Will Worsler Racing pole streak end last week at Watkins Glen with the Falcon race wraps at the Glen. And here tonight in the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown, race number 7. And it looks like that now pole losing streak for Will Worsler Racing will continue.
Yeah, Cody Spiker on top of the charts. Ed Bray, John Jenkins, 2nd and 3rd. How about 4th place? Tanner Sharp, making only his 3rd start of the season, I believe, in the number 03, P4 in qualifying, and time has run out. Bouchard and Stokes will be taking the provisionals to start at the tail end of the field. Big move there by Bouchard with the fact that he is mixing it up for the points battle. That's a scary situation. He will roll off 36th position in this one. Going back to your point, Peter, Craig Stykes back in the field. He's been running very strong as of late. The highest starting Will Worcester car. He will roll off 5th on the grid. Peter, they are rolling up and starting the motors. Let's take them through the starting lineup for this regular season finale.
Yeah, and starting on the pole is the number 19 machine of Cody Spiker, and to his outside, the number 66 of Ed Bray. Not 100% sure what's going on with the live timing and scoring down there at the bottom, but on row number 2 on the inside is the number 7 Max Pappas Innovations machine of John Jenkins. Tanner Sharp in the 03 machine will be starting to the outside. Craig Stykes and Adam Jersky, Beef Jersky's Cheesecakes, number 69 machine starting on the outside of row number 6. Craig Stykes, like you just mentioned, starting on the inside of that row. Starting on row number 4, the number 55 HPPsimulation.com for Brian Yazik. And to his outside, the Slice Perky Pints, number 29 machine of Will Worcester. And Greg, a little bit of a new look on that number 29 machine. Definitely a very cool scheme. Starting in the 9th position, the number 72 machine of Michael Krobach now is sporting his pretty similar HPPsimulation.com Ford Mustang scheme. You see it right there. And starting to his outside, the number 17 machine of Richard Stallings there, Greg.
Doug Mullins, Will Worcester Racing entry rolls off in 11th with Jackson Van Valkenburg back in the field in the number 23 to his outside in 12th. AJ Digby, Iowa winner in 13th with Brad Lee to his outside in the 01. Believe that might be Brad Lee's best qualifying effort of the season. James Lorello, a runner-up finish a few weeks ago, running out the top 15. Sam Crow in the number 5 in 16th. Michael Whiting, the 44, back in the field in 17th. Jake Grable, 87 in 18th, another return to the field. John Van Varellis in the 78. Woody Mahan, one of those guys watching for in the playoffs. He's one of those guys in the mix. Pete Baskins in 21st. And Peter, I wanted to mention this because I saw it in the chat. Tyler Seville qualified 22nd, asked for permission to rear start. Not sure what's going on with the 11 of Tyler Seville.
Yeah, I'm not all too surprised with that. It's probably a little bit of a strategy out of that number 11 machine. Like you mentioned, qualified 22nd, but will more than likely start at the back of the field. In fact, AJ Digby also asking to start at the back of the field. We'll have to see if the admins grant that or not. Starting in the 23rd position inside row number 12 is Greg Evans. iRacing flag on that number 2 machine. Bright red, you can't miss the number 2 machine. Greg Evans looking for win number 10 on the season. Jared Haggerty rolls off from 24th. Jordan Harnish on row number 13 on the inside in 25th. Alan Young to his outside 26th. Tim Knott in the 27th position with Jimmy McKee, the McKee Lawn Care Services machine to his outside in 28th. Joshua Biddle will roll off from 29th. Mark Myers, 30th. Clarence Bonner, Todd Kirkwood on row number 16. Jason Stewart, Grant Brown, row number 17. Lee Staples, Christopher Bouchard, Brandon Stokes, 35th through 37th respectively. And the pace truck lights are off. We're about to get set to go green flag racing here at Daytona. 80 laps, 200 miles to determine who makes it to the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series playoffs. And the green flag is in the air. Cody Spiker leads us to the green flag.
They make their way through the tri-oval down towards turn number 1. Remember, it'll take them about an entire lap to get up to speed here at Daytona. Spiker with a car length advantage as John Jenkins gives him a shot in the turn number 1. Spiker clear out front, side by side behind him as Spiker trying to get up to speed as they roar down the backstretch for the first time.
Yeah, and look at that run that outside line is getting. I mentioned just how smooth Ed Bray was when we saw him on camera in qualifying, getting a little bit of the help from the 03 machine of Tanner Sharp. They're side by side for the race lead still here on the opening lap. Like I said, long race as the field is already starting to fan out a little bit in the back. They're starting to use that strategy, but Ed Bray with a huge shot from Tanner Sharp going to lead lap number 1.
Looks like a 195 mile per hour pace lap, Peter, as they roar down the front stretch as Bray shuts the door on Spiker, which surrenders the lead to the top line to Tanner Sharp in the 03. Top 2 beginning to break away now a little bit here. John Jenkins to the inside of Sharp, as just as I say that, Spiker to the outside going to try to make the high side work.
Yeah, that number 19 machine trying to get that lead back. He started on the pole once again. Tanner Sharp being the friend here, pushing another car to the front. That number 19 now has his nose slightly out front. Look at the number 69. Adam Jersky sitting right behind Tanner Sharp, trying to help out this outside line. Now the number 19 leads the lap. We have 2 laps in the books here, Greg. 78 laps to go, and some of these drivers up the front kind of looking a little bit like it's the last lap.
Trying to sort things out. Expect them to settle down a little bit here once we get jostling for position. Will Worsler in the 29 slowly making his way up through the field as the inside lane comes flying back. Tanner Sharp thinking inside, trying to go 3 wide up the middle. He's got help from Adam Jersky in the number 69. Heard it's classic cheesecake tonight. Looking for a win at Daytona. Currently sitting outside road number 3, jostling it out with Craig Stykes right now. On board with Jersky. You see the big old Mountain Dew logo right in his windshield right now. Drag race to the line between Spiker and Bray up front. Spiker is going to lead the lap again as the outside lane seems to be the preferred lane in the early stages here.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, oh, here comes Tanner Sharp as we say that, though. That 03 machine going to jump down to the bottom, I should say. And he's going to try and lead the lap. Now, can he jump back out to the outside and block off the number 19 machine? Looks like he's going to stay on the bottom. A little bit of help from the 66 of Ed Bray. But now that outside line really formed up. A little bit of a bump draft from the number 69 of Adam Jersky pushing Cody Spiker off into turn number 3. Can they find that high line run that we have seen out of these cars? Nothing yet, but this is where we're really going to see it, Greg. Down the front stretch when they've got that high line wound up. And who will lead the lap here?
Close to call the line. I believe it was Spiker. As he just barely nipped Tanner Sharp. 6/1000ths of a second was the gap at the line. It is going to be fun right now. We are still settling things down in the early stages. Sharp coming back on the inside. Got help from Ed Bray. And Peter, some different names up front. That's a product of racing at Daytona. We don't see the likes of Spiker, Sharp, Jersky, Bray, Stallings contending for the lead at this stage of the race very often. A lot of the heavy hitters kind of hanging back right now, just kind of biding their time and waiting for an opportunity. We go on board with one of those guys we talked about a moment ago. Richard Stallings was fastest in practice. See him looking out at Jersky as they come through the strike. Tanner Sharp is going to lead the lap. Peter, I believe that's the first lap Tanner Sharp has led in ASRS Hacksaw PC Premier Series competition.
Yeah, absolutely great for that 03 machine to be out front. I'm sure Tanner Sharp is completely stoked to lead his first lap here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series, of course, here tonight in round 7 of the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown. And Greg, one thing I'm noticing is about the first 10 to 12 cars or so, double file, and then after back behind them, you see a lot of single file. You see the 6 and the 01 really the last 2 cars that are double file, and then a lot of single file racing behind them. These drivers just trying to log laps. They know this is a long race. They want to get to the point where they can make it to the end on only one stop. And Greg, that was one thing that I heard a couple of these drivers talking about, is how many laps you can make it on fuel. It's going to be really tight on whether or not you can only one stop this race. I've heard some drivers thinking that they can go between 37 to 40 laps depending on where they are in this pack. As you see the number 19 of Spiker once again getting that run on the high side with a little bit of help from Jersky.
Checking in real quick on your points situation. Woody Mahan was scored in 14th position last time by Chris Bouchard, 32nd. Doing the math, they are right neck and neck with each other in the points. I believe if it ends now, Bouchard would be in by 3 points if my math is correct. So very much got to keep an eye on the 50 and the 84 as they try to work their way through the field. Mahan up 6 positions from his starting spot. Bouchard up 4.
Now, the big thing that we're going to see as this race goes on is some drivers potentially lose the draft. If I'm that number 50 machine, I'm so far back in the pack that there is a possibility if I get shuffled out, there is the possibility, like I said, to lose that draft because he is that far back. So that number 50 machine of Bouchard kind of walking a tightrope. There was a little bit of contact. My voice went up an octave between the number 26 machine of Lee Staples, and I think Brandon Stokes possibly had a little bit of a coming together in those 2 cars, and luckily they were able to sort things out, but definitely the 26 machine had to back out of it, and of course that happened right in front of the number 50 of Bouchard. That
would have been huge in the points situation, Peter, because if Bouchard, one of the guys we're watching for a shot at the playoffs, gets caught up in an incident this early, how much of a heartbreak would that be for him? He's now gotten around a couple cars on the outside, making the high line work. is the number 50, as there you see the guy he's racing against for the playoff spot, the number 84, Woody Mahan. Hey, he said last week he would run the purple car for us, and he did. He held his word, so on board now with Bouchard in the number 50. Those are the two you're keeping an eye on for the points battle, 84 and 50. And Peter, I'm noticing, look who Woody Mahan has hooked up right behind him, his teammates, Brian Yazik and Michael Krobach.
Yeah, and of course, that is the way that team wants to finish, because right now, Krobach and Yazik are both locked in to the Hacksaw PC's playoffs. The number 84, however, is not. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if those three teammates, Lava Pedal Motorsports, all line up, work together throughout this race. They're starting to break up a little bit on the bottom because, Greg, just like that, look who is coming to the outside of that number 84 machine. It is Christopher Bouchard. They're side by side. These are the two drivers contending for that final spot in the playoffs. And now, just like that, Bouchard has gone from 32nd all the way up now to the 18th position here at Daytona in pretty much a blink of an eye, but that can happen here as Adam Jersky in the number 69 machine has taken his race car to the front.
Jersky leading the way in the number 69. Sharp led the lap, but he got around him going through the front stretch down into turn number 1, but back comes Sharp in the number 03. Stallings giving a shove now to Jersky on the outside, whereas Spiker is back there with Sharp. And look at Jared Haggerty. He's made his way up trying to crack the top 5 now. Sharp coming back on the inside. It'll be a drag race down the front stretch. Looking out the window of Tanner Sharp coming to the strike. You see Jersky right there hanging out. Sharp's going to lead the lap again. But there you see the run coming on the outside from Jersky. Oh, Stallings thought about 3 wide for a second as Jersky kind of bobbled. Stallings had to make a split-second decision, make the move or stay behind him. He went with staying behind him, and it's going to cost him a spot as Spiker and now Bray to the inside. That's how fast things can change here at Daytona.
And once again, that 03 machine has his nose out front. And Greg, that 03 machine right there of Tanner Sharp, he doesn't have anything to lose here tonight. He's only had a couple of starts here in the ASRS Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series, so he is just trying to go out there and get the win here in tonight's round of the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown. The championship within a championship, and I know, Greg, we have had 6 prior SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown races, and of course SERVPRO have put up a prize for winning the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown. It is a steering wheel. I believe it's one of the Sam Maxwell custom steering wheels as well, if memory serves me correctly. So that is a huge prize for whoever walks away with the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown. Contact between the 69 and the number 19. And no contact. The 17 and the 6 are around. No caution just yet. There's the 17 is falling, spinning through the infield. The 6 and the number 7 as well involved. That's John Jenkins, your points leader, coming into tonight. And the caution flag has been thrown. A couple other cars involved as well, including the number 5 of Sam Crow, Greg. But what happened here?
It was plate racing, Peter. You saw them break out, going down the backstretch. Haggerty, Jenkins, Stallings, all up in the front, just jostling for a position. And that started when Spiker had his little bobble. A couple of seconds before that, we go on board with John Jenkins. There you see the bobble out of Spiker, everyone checking up. Haggerty tried to make the move through the middle, and it just didn't work out. And we are fortunate that we didn't wad up more cars there.
Yeah, I think Jared Haggerty in the number 6 machine is going to walk away as the biggest loser of this. That number 6 machine definitely damaged on both the back end and front end as he heavily hit into the wall. But you can see that from the blimp cam, that little bit of a checkup there in front between the number 19 and the number 69 led to a checkup, and the accordion effect led to the 17 and the 6 ending up 3 wide with John Jenkins on the inside. Here we go, on board with the number 17 machine. Watch this. They just got a little bit sideways there down the straightaway, and then the number 17 checked up, and there was nowhere for the number 6 machine to go. They tried going 3 wide. They made contact, and just like that, it was on from there. Here's the number 50 machine of Christopher Bouchard. And Greg, this is one of the drivers we're keeping our eye on tonight because of his playoff implications. And see what happens in front here. There's the car spinning, and he's just able to kind of keep the foot flat and luckily get through that mess.
When you are in a points battle like this, Peter, with all the stakes on the line, you see smoke in front of you, your heart skips a beat. But we've got action on pit road. Everybody's coming down pit road here under this first caution.
And Greg, I think this answers our question on whether or not these drivers could make it on one more stop. I think that answer is quite clearly no. They all had to come down pit road. So from this point on, I expect to only see them on pit road one more time. Because tires, although they do matter here a little bit at Daytona, they don't matter all too much. But we did have 2 cars stay out, including Cody Spiker, Jackson, and Volkenberg. So they'll presumably lead us back to green. Oh man, the number 17 machine of Stallings, they're reversing on pit road. But Tanner Sharp did win the race off pit road over Ed Bray and Adam Jersky in the number 69 machine. So it looks like the 2 cars that stayed out will have Tanner Sharp, Ed Bray, and Adam Jersky right behind them inside the top 5 when we go back to green here in just a little bit. But Greg, one thing about iRacing recently is they reduced the number of caution laps, and that's going to be something that is going to be a talking point here tonight, because if you have some damaged cars, they don't have a lot of time to come down pit road and fix their damage without falling down a lap and before going back to green.
Remember, no fast repairs in the ASRS Hacksaw PC's Premier Series, so you get damage to your car, you've got to repair it manually, so it could very much play a role in this. And with those shorter cautions, you're having less and less time to fix it. And Peter, that's huge, because especially, we've talked about it countless times how aerosensitive these cars are. That is magnified tenfold on the plate tracks Daytona and Talladega with how aerosensitive these cars are. The slightest scuff can put you in a lot of trouble at these big tracks.
A couple of cars just now headed off pit road. There are cars with damage, including Richard Stallings, Sam Crow, and Jared Haggerty. In fact, the number 6 machine of Haggerty, correction, he's still sitting on pit road. So, like I said, it looked like he was going to be the biggest loser out of that accident because he had damage on all 4 corners of that number 6 Cheerwine Toyota. There you see him in his pit box, the crew going to work. And Greg, the field now getting the 1 to go signal. So we mentioned it, that they don't have a lot of time on pit road. So Haggerty here going to lose a lap, and we'll have to see whether or not he can get that machine back out there on the racetrack. Mark Myers in the 04 machine also electing to come down pit road here on this past lap, so he'll have to join the back end of the field here before we go back to green. But pace truck here on the back stretch, so we'll be going back to green flag racing here in just about half a lap.
Looks like race leader Cody Spiker chose the outside lane. Remember, that is new to the ASRS with this latest build that iRacing brought out about 9 to 10 weeks ago now. Lane choice was added to hosted and league races, so Cody Spiker choosing the outside. And can't say I'm surprised, Peter, the way the first run went. The outside lane really seemed to be where a lot of passes were made. Can't say I'm surprised to see Spiker select the outside here.
Yeah, we saw how strong it was. The one thing that is a little bit surprising to me is usually we see that inside line, the preferred line, on a restart, and then that outside line builds up. It takes a lap or 2 to build up, and then once they get going, it's just as strong as the inside line. So I'm a bit surprised to see it here on this restart. We'll have to see how it works out for him. But the pace truck going to head down pit road. We're going to be back to green flag action here. It's round 7 of the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown. It is the Firecracker 200. And they're on the loud pedal. Back to green flag racing here at Daytona. Good start by the number 19 machine. Not spinning his tires. And Greg, both the 19 and the 23 did not come down pit road. We'll have to see how that plays out for both of them. But for now, they're 1-2.
Tire limits are in effect. Remember that. So those two selecting to save a set of tires for the later stages of this race. Sharp with a big push there on Van Valkenburg. Now he's going to go to the inside. Mountain Dew inside of Pepsi for the race lead here, and he's got Cheesecake pushing him.
Yeah, that Cheesecake number 69 machine right behind Tanner Sharp. You could not put a piece of paper between those 2 cars down the back stretch as they're bump drafting. That's, of course, something we always see when we come to Daytona. Luckily, with these modern-day Cup cars, it's a little bit easier to do than some of the other cars like the ARCA cars here in iRacing. One other thing that I'm starting to notice is a couple of those War Turtle racing machines. The number 87 there, Jake Crable on the inside, 3rd machine in line. Got the number 3 of Varello right behind him. You'll actually see James Varello in action here twice this week, and possibly even 3 times if he runs the Thursday night Throwback Cup Series here for the American Sim Racing Series. But he's also going to be racing in the NSRA Series that we're going to be broadcasting, the Simbox 250 here on 3Y TV. So make sure you join us for that one here on 3Y TV. But here tonight, of course, the ASRS Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. Oh no, the 23 machine of Van Valkenburg is around, and just like that, the 19 is Spiker, your pole sitter involved. Ed Bray, your outside pole sitter as well. Heavy damage on that machine, and we are back to caution here at Daytona.
Looking to see if our two cars and points got through here. Taking a look at the replay. See what happened here. Oh, I think Woody Mahan got a piece of that. I think he got a piece of that, Peter.
Yeah, it looked like he did get a piece of it. I'm seeing a little bit of damage on that number 84 machine here from high atop. So watch the number 23 and the number 19 machine. Just a little bit of a nudge here coming out of turn number 4 in the wrong spot on the car. Man, Ed Bray nowhere to go. Mahan definitely into the number 66 machine who was spinning around, but that is just a bad bump in the wrong spot on the racetrack. Definitely leads to a couple cars here junked up. Here we go on board with the number 84 machine, and Mahan, watch the contact there and just nowhere for him to go. He tries to slow down in time, but that could be it for the number 84 machine. I don't know if his day might be done there, Greg, but I know there might be some radiator problems. There might be some overheating problems on that number 84 machine. Here's another look at it.
We're gonna look one more time. But Peter, going back to what you just said with the 84, you gotta go out and get as much repaired on that car as you possibly can, because Chris Bouchard, there's still 60 or so laps to go in this race. You're not done yet, because Bouchard could have issues. If you can still go, you got to go as long as you can. Taking one more look at it, I believe this is from the old Gopher cam. Wow, look at them coming, sliding towards them. Whew. I am glad that Digger has long left the hole now, because he would have been along for the ride in that case.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There you see Ed Bray spinning through the grass. One driver I really want to see a replay of is the number 87 machine of Jay Crable. I'll see if we can dial that one up for you, because 87 of Crable was a little bit of a bucking bronco here. Let's see what happened here. Both he and the number 3 of Lorello kind of got out of this a little bit lucky. Watch, left, right, left, right, left, right. Somehow finds himself in the grass and is able to get away with this one without all too much damage on that machine. I gotta say, that man right there needs a new pair of underwear, because that was incredibly impressive getting through that one. You see him here. I think he's getting the end of longest line penalty in that number 87 machine. Not 100% sure why. Might have been for going through the grass and not slowing down or something like that. But Crable will now drop to the rear, but definitely glad to have that number 87 machine pretty much in one piece here, Greg.
So as we roll under caution, Woody Mahan sitting there in the number 84. Peter, let's see if we can dial up Mahan and see what's going on in that number 84 as he's rolling on the front stretch.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to work my way down to the Loud Pedal Motorsports team channel. Let's see if we can drag him up here. And Woody Mahan, Peter Short here in the 3-wide TV booth. I know definitely not the way you wanted to start your night. How's the damage on that number 84 machine? Of course, with the playoff implications here tonight. Got a lot of eyes on you here tonight.
Well, we had a minute's worth of damage. I don't know what's about to happen. We'll find. I'll get this little bit right here before we take the green, but I don't know if I got a car left.
Definitely not what you wanted to see in that machine here in the early going. Did you get all your damage repaired, or do you still have a little bit left to get on pit road?
It's all repaired. It was a minute's worth, but it doesn't feel like I got. It feels like I'm down on power.
All right. Well, that's a tough break for you there, Woody. Hopefully you can bounce back, maybe have a little bit of luck go your way here in this still quite a long way to go.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, we'll let him get back to it, because the pace truck lights have been extinguished here at Daytona. He's trying to catch back up to the back half of the field in that number 84 Mahan Speed Laboratories machine. And that is a tough break, Greg, because Woody Mahan has had a good run of races in that number 84 machine.
It has been a great run for him, Peter, so that's a tough break. But like we said, we're only a quarter of the way through this race. We're 20 of 80 complete, so plenty of time. And at Daytona, we've seen just how quick in the blink of an eye things can change. So what will happen here for the next act of this one, getting ready for our second restart of the day. Tanner Sharp leading the way. Adam Jersky second. Brian Yazik, Woody Mahan's teammate, up to third. Craig Stykes back up in the top 5. Good to have Craig Stykes back in the field as the pace truck gets set to duck off.
Pace truck dives down. The number 03 machine of Tanner Sharp leads us back to green flag. Green flag in the air. Tanner Sharp already on the loud pedal in that Chevrolet. There's the number 69 machine of Adam Jersky. He has been so close to the accidents here tonight in that Beef Jersey's Cheesecakes machine, but so far, no one has dropped the cheesecake on him just yet. Hopefully, it stays clean and green for that number 69 here tonight. The 55 machine, Brian Yazik, now up to the second position. He was one of those drivers who barely scooted through that accident, and right behind him is the number 57 of Craig Stykes. As Stykes goes with the number 55 machine, now starting to leave that 03 of Sharp down there on the inside, out to dry just a little bit, but here comes the number 52. That's Grant Brown in that Glassdoor Brewing Chevrolet, trying to get to the back bumper to give a little bit of help to Tanner Sharp.
Meanwhile, up on the high sideline, 6 cars in line. Final car in line is Clarence Bonner back in the field. He's driving the Tabasco Fiasco-inspired Toyota Camry out here tonight, Peter. And I gotta say, that's one combination I don't know would go very well. Tabasco and cheesecake. They're on board. I believe that was with Jay Crable in the number 87. Yes, it was. He's just now getting back on track. So he's trying to make his way up to the field. Meanwhile, up front, Yazik and Stykes now in a drag race for the race lead.
Ben, you beat me to the Tabasco Fiasco, and I'm a little bit jealous. I've been wanting to say it all night long. Every time I've seen the number 99 of Clarence Bonner, I'm like, yeah, it's a Tabasco Fiasco car. But you beat me to it, kind of warming up to what we'll see next week, which, of course, is the throwback race at Darlington, round 8 of the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown. Very much looking forward to that. Of course, the first race in the round of 12 in the Hacksaw PC's playoffs here in the American Sim Racing Series Premier Series. Very much looking forward to that. But there's Craig Stykes in that number 57 machine. Haven't seen him all too often here over the past month or so in the American Sim Racing Series, but he's definitely showing that even though he's been off the racetrack, he's still got pace as he's side by side with the number 55 of Yazik for the race lead.
Coming back on the inside with help from Tanner Sharp. Inside trying to get going, and then Harnish and Jersky side by side for fourth. A couple of cars that say cheesecake on it, as Harnish has it on the back bumper. You see Bonner back there behind Greg Evans, who's made his way up into the top 10 for the first time tonight, Peter. Tim Knott there as well. You know what's missing on the Tabasco Fiasco, though? It's a Toyota, not a Pontiac. I think we need to get Pontiac back in the realm of NASCAR and get a Gen 6 or even Gen 7 Pontiac in here in the mix. We get the true Tabasco Fiasco out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure one driver who wouldn't want to see the Tabasco Fiasco car ever again, Darrell Waltrip. He's past that point of his life. But Clarence Bonner definitely sporting that scheme. I love that paint scheme on the number 99 machine. I'm definitely going to be in the running for the best paint scheme next week at Darlington, where we have $50 on the line here in the American Sim Racing Series. But up at the front, Brian Yazik leading the way in tonight's round 7 of the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown. Here, the Firecracker 200, closing in on the halfway distance. 25 laps in the rear, just about 55 more to go. And Tanner Sharp, what a strong showing it has been for Tanner here in the first half of this race. Now jumping to the outside, trying to get a push from the number 57 of Stykes. That gives the number 03 quite the advantage as he got that shot at that outside line. They built up that speed on that high groove, and all that speed went into the back bumper of that number 03 machine as he bounced from the low line to the high line. And that really put Yazik out to dry just a little bit as the number 32 machine of Harnish closes to his rear bumper. And they kind of recycle. That's what I like to say about Daytona and these two lines, Craig, is that they really recycle the lines. You see one die off, and then the other one will be strong for a lap or two, and then the other line just builds back up. And we get more side-by-side action like we're seeing right here.
Remember, Peter, last time the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series was on a restrictor plate track at Talladega, it was Craig Stykes in the 57 who got the win. The last time we were at Daytona, not this Daytona granted, but it was the old Daytona in the Boswell's Country Roads Throwback Series. Brian Yazik, who's leading the inside lane, he won that race. So a couple drivers with some plate wins on front right now as Yazik's going to get the lead back with help from Jordan Harnish. It's a classic Chevy versus Ford drag race. Chevy up top, Ford down low. And Grant Brown coming up to say hello in his Dirty Bird Sim Racing Patriot number 52 Chevy Camaro. How about Brandon Stokes? He started tail end of the field on a provisional. He started shotgun 37th. He has climbed 30 spots. He's in 7th now last time he went by.
Yeah, absolutely. But what a night it has been so far for Loud Pedal Motorsports. We got Brian Yazik, who's leading the race, but then you got the two teammates, the 72 back there, as well as the number 84. There they are running together well back in the field, running around the 26th position or so. Good news for Woody Mahan is it seems like he's able to keep up with the main pack with all that damage. It sounded like he might have been down on horsepower, but he is staying somewhat attached to the lead draft, because as soon as he loses that lead draft, it would be game over for him in that race car. Pete Baskins as well, one of those drivers for Loud Pedal Motorsports. He's in the 27th position right now, pretty much, number 27 car in 15th position mid-pack. What am I saying? But definitely that number 55 machine has a very fast horse out there.
55 of Yazik definitely been strong here in the early stages at Daytona. We were on board with Pete Baskins right now in the DMLT Racing Channel entry, number 27. He's kind of hanging back mid-pack, 15th at the line last time by. He's got Alan Young behind him as the battle continues up front. Side by side, 4 deep here, as Yazik with a good run from a push from Jordan Harnish to move up front. They're coming up on a little bit of lap traffic now too, Peter. Jared Haggerty in the number 6, crippled after the early incident. He's up, making way on the high side. They're going to all roar past him. And you're going to see it right there, the difference, single car versus draft.
Yeah, the tough break for that number 6 machine. He is already now 5 laps down after that damage. Cody Spiker, the number 19 machine, he has taken that race car to the garage, as has Ed Bray in the number 66 machine. So here we are, Greg, 30 laps into the race, and your front row, poof, gone. Cody Spiker, of course, sat on the pole, Ed Bray to his outside. So tough break for them, but you can see still up at the front, the number 55 machine of Yazik now leading over Jordan Harnish. That outside line has broken apart just a little bit, and you saw that right there, almost contact, as the 57 of Sykes left the 03 of Sharp out to dry. But just like that, now the outside line's got to run in front of Sharp, because here comes the number 32 of Harnish. He wants to lead a lap here at Daytona.
Remember, Harnish was running very strong earlier in the season before he went away for a little bit, had to take some weeks off, but before he did, he was having some very strong runs, but the luck wasn't going his way. He's having a nice bounce back as Brandon Stokes with a shove now to Brian Yazik to get him back out front. Stokes up to second, bringing Stikes with him.
Yeah, that outside line there just kind of died, Greg. It looked like he had a really good run there going into the tri-oval, but it just died off. Definitely this number 55 machine of Yazik, very strong out front right now. He's led the last couple of laps. You see the number 69 of now Jersky going to see if he can get that outside line to work. But I'm also wondering if tire wear is starting to factor into the way these cars are driving, and maybe that low line has an advantage with how many laps these guys have on their tires.
Very well could be, Peter. Tire wear coming into play here. A lot of these drivers took tires on that first caution around lap 15 or so, as now Jersey with a run on the outside with help from Clarence Bonner in the number 99. Craig Stikes down on the inside. He's trying to get back up on Stokes. Another car has entered the top 10 for the first time that we haven't talked about. Jimmy McKee in the McKee Lawn Care Camaro is up there, 3 wide for the lead, and suddenly Yazik is going to be stuck in the middle.
Yazik in the sucker hole, they used to call it, and that number 55 machine, will he get a little bit of help from the number 99 up on her? There's contact. The number 99 and the number 9 have it coming together, and the field scattering all over the racetrack. Bonner hit the outside wall. Contact with the 44 of Whiting, and the 01 of Lee, nowhere to go. The number 99 going back down the racetrack. 41 of not involved. We got some more cars, including Christopher Bouchard in the number 50. Possible championship implications for the number 55 of Bouchard. But let's see, this all started coming out of turn number 4, and there's the contact between the 99 and the 44 that really triggered this accident.
All started running for the race lead, and Stokes got stuck on the apron. Taking another look on the 3Y TV replay. There you see Stokes down on the bottom. Have to go back just a little bit more. Here we go. This is going down into turn number 3. There's the 3 wide for the race lead. Stokes with a run on the inside there. Jersky out front. There you see Bonner, the number 99. Jersky goes down. Let's see what happened to trigger it. Bonner and Stokes getting together there. They fan out. It looks like we're going to be good with the exception of Bonner in the wall. And then 44 of Whiting just trying to go high, and Bonner was there. And then what happens to Bouchard? Right there, runs into the 44. So that is what we were talking about earlier with Woody Mahan. If something happened to Bouchard, he would still have a shot. Right there, something happened.
Well, I got bad news about Woody Mahan. He was actually involved in somewhat of a separate incident, and his day's done. So we'll have to go back and see exactly what happened to Woody Mahan. But the number 84 machine, who was not involved in that accident, there you see him coming out of turn number 4. We'll see this one. We'll have to go back a little bit further than that to see it here on this 3Y TV replay. But I think what happened is the number 84 machine, Greg, had got word, possibly from a spotter, that things were getting a little bit dicey up at the front, might have gotten out of the throttle, and had a little bit of rear end contact and hit the inside wall quite significantly. And with all that damage on that race car, his night is going to be done. So a very, very tough break for Woody Mahan there, trying to get into the playoffs. And Greg, just like that, we now know which of the 12 race cars will make their way here into the Hacksaw PC's playoffs. But we definitely have a lot of cars on pit road as of right now, as we saw that happen right there on the replay. A little bit of contact there from Lorello. That might have actually been a little bit of neck code, perhaps, between those two cars. But definitely a tough break for the number 84 machine. You see pit road is very, very busy. The 03 of Sharp now coming off pit road. Here comes the 69 of Adam Jersky. Beef Jersky's cheesecake. Is he going to beat the 57 off pit road? It was tight between those two. I think Craig Sykes might have just pipped him to the line. But definitely a great race off pit road between those two.
So we'll see how it goes here throughout the timing. Congratulations to Christopher Bouchard. He has locked up that final playoff spot. But that's good news for him, because he is now going to be mired deep in the field. We're under caution for the 3rd time today here at Daytona International Speedway, and it has been a wild one, Peter.
It definitely has. I mean, we're not yet to the halfway mark. We've had a couple of cautions. We'll see if we can bring up the race summary in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, just so you can kind of see how this race has gone. Todd Kirkwood actually elected to stay out, so he might become the 15th lead change here tonight as we go across the start-finish line here shortly. Perhaps he's just waiting to stay out there on the racetrack for that last second to come down pit road, because we're close to that window. I don't think we're in the window yet that they can make it on one stop, but if they get a couple of cautions, there is the possibility. But we're going to step away for just a brief moment, play a few quick commercials here on 3Y TV. We'll be back for the green flag.
Welcome to Sliced Pizza Bar, where we're passionate about great pizza. All of our food is made fresh daily using only the finest ingredients and techniques. Our chefs put their heart and soul into each pie, and we're sure you'll taste the difference. Located on both Indian Rocks and Madeira beaches, chances are we're right around the corner for your next pizza night or dinner date. Come give us a try and experience the slice difference.
Life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and SERVPRO.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to Daytona International Speedway, the world center of racing. And all eyes tonight were, of course, on the playoff situation with the number 50 and the number 84 battling it out for that last position in the playoffs. Unfortunately, Woody Mahan's race will go no further. He has taken that race car to the garage. So that man right there will be the 12th driver in the playoffs to try and win a Hacksaw PC's computer. Yes, they are not only the series sponsor, but they have put up the series championship prize, and that is a brand new Hacksaw PC. And Greg, that is a super cool championship prize, because all these drivers, I'm sure they all want a new PC as we're about to get set to go back to green flag. Todd Kirkwood in the number 86 machine, I mentioned it before we went to break. He will become the 15th different race, or should be the 15th different lead change. But as I say that, the number 8 of Jimmy McKee, he beat him to the stripe with a little bit of help from the 03 of Tanner Sharp. And just like that, McKee gets his nose out front. But now the 86 of Kirkwood on the inside getting a little bit of help from that inside groove. And Jordan Harnish there in the 32.
Had a lot of cheese behind him as Harnish. Oh, he gets shoved down onto the apron by the momentum there. And that's those fresh tires compared to the old tires there, as Kirkwood fall all the way to the back. He may actually just be falling to the back. He's going to have to be careful there, as he had to come up on the banking to avoid losing the draft, and that didn't work out. He's in trouble losing the draft now.
Yeah, Todd Kirkwood goes from first to worst almost in one lap here at Daytona. It's pretty easy. It can happen to pretty much anyone at Daytona. We've seen it many, many times. Drivers just get shuffled out, and he got thrown down below that yellow line, but that did allow Jimmy McKee and the number 8 machine to flash by the start-finish line as the race leader here as we close in on the halfway distance in tonight's round 7 of the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown. Firecracker 200, Tanner Sharp in the 03 machine. He's been strong all night long up there in the high groove in that machine. A little bit of help from behind in the number 57 of Craig Stykes. And Brian Yazik, he's led a good handful of laps here tonight. He is now back up inside the top 10. And also AJ Digby there, Greg, in the number 14 machine. He's now in the 7th position, starting to make some noise.
Twitter verified AJ Digby making his way through the field, started 13th. He's up to 7th, going after Yazik for 6th now. I'm impressed, Jimmy McKee. He has really been impressing me the last few weeks. Very solid runs, having some nice drives with him, and here he is leading once again in the number 8. Tyler Seville making moves back there as he just went from the inside to the outside. He fell to the back early. He is coming through the field. By the way, Peter, halfway this time by.
Yeah, and I'm curious to know who's going to lead the halfway lap, because it's side by side for the race lead as Jersky and that number 69 got a huge shot from Tanner Sharp. Sharp has really been strong here tonight, pushing cars to the front. And just like that, Adam Jersky in the number 69 machine becomes yet another lead change here at Daytona. Now, will Jersky stay on the top side? Will he drop down to the bottom? Well, that answers that question. That opens the door for the 03 of Sharp to get help from the 55 of Yazik. 3 cars on the inside, 2 cars on the outside, and it's looking like the 2 cars will prevail here coming out of turn number 2.
Good run down the backstretch, but Yazik saying, okay, thanks for that. As I give you the push, now I'm going to take the lead back as he goes to the inside. Got Brandon Stokes behind Sharp now, as now Yazik going to get the lead. Here comes Greg Evans, the bright red number 2, trying to make his way up. 9 wins on the season, looking for double digits tonight. Greg Evans trying to hang the 10th spot up. He's up in the top 10, trying to make his way up for the first time tonight. He falls in front of Craig Stykes, as it's now Yazik leading once again, Jersky and McKee behind him.
Remember back at Talladega, Greg Evans, he was inside the top 3 going for the win right at the end of the race. He's one of those drivers, he's not a fan of these super speedway races, but he knows how to get the job done just about every single week here in the ASRS Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. He is now up there inside the top 10, trying to go for a top 5 position here. In fact, as of right now, he had his nose briefly ahead of Tanner Sharp, so he's in the 5th position there for a flash of a second. But here comes Lee Staples in the number 26 machine. He was involved in one of those accidents earlier, got a little bit of rear end damage on that machine. Now up there inside the top 10. So great job for that StepTire.com number 26 machine, right up there in the high groove right behind the 03 machine of Tanner Sharp. You see him on the left-hand side of your screen. Sharp going to drop down to the low side. Now a couple of cars electing to drop down to the inside grooves. That outside line not really formed up right now, but the 32 of Harney is trying to do all he can to push Jersky to the front, but Brian Jacek has also got himself out front yet again. So the 55, he's led a good handful of laps here, trying to lead yet another one here as they come to the start-finish line with just 37 laps to go.
Jersky led the last lap by 2 1/1000ths of a second. Move it back to Jacek. Lead changing just about every other lap, it feels like, as McKee now trying to give a shot to Jacek. He's got Greg Evans behind him, but Greg Evans has some damage on the tailgate of that number 2. That's going to be big moving forward here in this one. As we're just past halfway, we go on board with Brandon Stokes. There you see the damage to Greg Evans' number 2 Camaro. That's going to be big moving forward, because now that back bumper is going to be softened up and you're not going to be able to give him as many shots as you would earlier. Another car behind the wall. The 01 of Brad Lee has retired from the race.
It's a tough break for Brad Lee. He was involved in that accident just a little while ago. Got quite a bit of damage on that Skalicki's Auto Repair 01 machine. Great looking paint scheme on that race car. Unfortunately, now in the garage. And Greg, one thing we were just talking about a little bit ago was the Hacksaw PC prize. Well, there's also a prize for the driver in the last 10 races who's not in the playoff, who scores the most points. Drivers 13th and lower are eligible for that prize. So that's going to be something we're going to have to keep our eye on as the lead lap cars catching up to a little bit of lap traffic. That's the 5 machine of Sam Crow that they just flashed on by. That number 5 had quite a bit of damage here tonight, as you see a little bit of close there with the 52 of Grant Brown. But Sam Crow going to see if he can join up with this lead pack, currently being scored 2 laps down in the 31st position. Jay Crable in the number 87 machine, he was one of the Lucky Dog Award winners under these last cautions, so he was 2 laps down. Now he's back to only 1 lap down, and as of right now, Crable would be the lucky dog to get back on the lead lap, so he is hoping to see a caution flag in that War Turtle Racing Chevrolet. Of course, he's hoping he's not the caution, but definitely hoping to get back on the lead lap and fight this one out for the win here in tonight's SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown, race number 7, Firecracker 200. And there you see the 27 machine of Pete Baskins now getting himself up into the top 10 with the MLC Racing Channel on the hood. We actually had the DMLC Racing Channel in the chat here tonight. Mark Cohn, hope all is well with you. Fortunately, you're not out there on the racetrack here tonight in your Ford Mustang, but hope to see you on track again here soon, Mark. But back up in front, it is actually Mark Cohn's teammate, the 55 of Brian Jacek, leading the way still.
Jacek having a good run. Winner at Kentucky, locked into the playoffs, is having a very nice run into number 55. Jersky, I'm so impressed. Looks like the classic cheesecake is working for him, because he has been up in the top 5 leading laps. Great run for Jersky in the number 69.
Yeah, definitely been strong all night long, just like the number 3 machine of Tanner Sharp, pretty much been in the top 5, the 03, excuse me, of Tanner Sharp, pretty much been in the top 5 all night long. I mean, it seems like those 2 drivers have pretty much been staples up at the front in the first half of the race, but still quite a few laps left to go, quite a few miles, but the lap count is ticking down. We're now under 100 miles left in this race, with the 55 showing the way out front. But one thing I've really noticed, Greg, here tonight is we get the first 10 to 12 cars side by side, and then after that, a bunch of cars running single file, just kind of logging laps and hope that there's no more big accidents. I mean, really, from the number 27 of Baskins on back, pretty much single file race cars. You can see it here in this camera angle. A lot of drivers, including a couple of the Will Worcester racing machines. We haven't really mentioned them here tonight, Greg, but Will Worcester, Tyler Seville, as well as the number 18 of Mullins, running nose to tail with one another, just letting everything kind of happen out front. They know that they still have quite a bit of time to catch the lead group and battle for the race lead. It is Daytona. You can make passes. You can be smart about it. They're just back there, just outside the top 15 or so, waiting for their time to come to the front.
Biding their time, Peter, and this is what we expected. Later in the race, it was going to come down to kind of just hanging out and waiting for your time. Right around now is when we expected things to settle down. It hasn't settled down up front. They're still slicing and dicing at the hornet's nest up here, but things middle of the pack have begun to settle down. It's lap 50 now. We're coming to 30 to go this time by. When do you think these guys who are just hanging out waiting are going to start making their moves?
You know, I think with about 15 laps to go is when we'll start to see some of these drivers make their move. But if we go caution-free to the end, I don't think any of these drivers are going to be making it on fuel to the end from when they last stopped. So that kind of raises a interesting question, Greg. When do you come down pit road? Do you decide to pit early and see if you could just put fuel in it and maybe get a couple of teammates together so that you can stay on the lead lap in case there is a caution, i.e. short pit like you would on a road course? Or do you want to just pretty much run it out of fuel and stay in the lead pack, the lead train of cars, and be pretty much as fast as you can? It's going to be interesting to see how that how different strategies play out, if we're going to see different strategies.
Well, another thing you're going to have to factor in, Peter, it's not just you got to worry about. You got to figure out who you're going to pit with and when you're all going to pit, because at Daytona, you have got to come down with multiple cars. If you come down by yourself, that's a death sentence in this race. You have to figure it out with these drivers that's around you. When are you going to pit? Like, for example, you can expect all the Will Worcester racing cars on pit road at the same time, all the Loud Pedal Motorsports at the same time, Dirty Bird cars, same time, Glassdoor Brewing, same time. You got to figure it out with your teammates, and you have to come to an agreement of when you're going to come down and work together as a team to stay out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of those Glassdoor Brewing machines, as we go 3 wide towards the front, that's the number 9 machine of Stokes now put in there. Remember, he put, I think, the 03 of Tanner Sharp 3 wide just a little bit ago. Now he finds himself 3 wide. Now we're back to 2 wide as I say that, so they sort things out here. But I was going to mention the Glassdoor Brewing machines, the 87 of Crable and the number 3 of Lorello. Lorello's on the lead lap now, sitting inside at the top 10 in the 8th or 9th position, depending on what time of the lap you are on, because that outside line and the inside line just kind of ebbing and flowing with one another. But look at the 87 of Jay Crable. He would be in the lucky dog position right now, but he's trying to help the 3 of Lorello get to the front, even though he is 1 lap down. So a little bit of teamwork there, with a couple cars separated by about 20 positions right now.
Leader Brandon Stokes getting out front in the number 9. He's got help now from Yazik in the 55. Jersky and Harnish outside, but Stokes has had a quiet day, kind of, sort of, I guess you could say. We've been talking about him up in the top 10 most of it. Had some issues earlier, but has worked his way back up. Remember, Peter, he started shotgun on the field, and here he is leading the way late in the race.
Yeah, lap count continuing to wind down, just 27 more laps to go. They're really clicking by pretty darn quickly here around this 2.5-mile racetrack. And one thing that I find really amazing, Greg, and I know this kind of varies depending on what package NASCAR has, but these Cup cars here, they're going 200 plus miles an hour going off into turn number 3. These cars are no slouches around this racetrack. I mean, we saw times in practice 44.3 here in the race. Some extremely impressive lap time. In fact, the fastest lap in the race, a 44.6 by the number 2 machine of Greg Evans. That is booking it around this racetrack.
That is huge, especially with the damage on the back of that number 2 car. It doesn't seem to be affecting him as much as we thought it would, as he's doing a good job hanging in there. He's currently in the 3rd slot on the outside line right now as they work their way past the slower traffic. I believe that's Kirkwood in the number 86 on the inside there. But Stokes and Jersky continuing to swap the lead. Harnish and Yazik right there. Evans, Sharp led a lot in the early stages. Man, this has been a wild race here so far, Peter. Closing in on the closing act as we're about 5 laps from 3/4 through. Going to be a tough call here, as Daytona is always a wild card, but we've seen so many drivers come and go in this race, and we're not even close to done with that. Have we even mentioned our winner yet, or is someone we haven't talked about going to come up and surprise us?
Man, you don't even know. I was watching some of the drivers kind of lurking at the back of the pack, including the number 78 machine of John Van Varellis, the Stavros Pizza House number 78 machine. Right now, he is kind of the last car in this lead train of cars. You see him right there behind the number 1 machine of Jason Stewart. But Van Varellis kind of biding his time. He does have a little bit of damage on the left rear quarter panel of that number 78 machine, but he's still in the fray. We can't rule him out at this point. This racetrack is notorious for drivers kind of coming out of nowhere to get the checkered flag. Think back to 2007 when Kevin Harvick won the Daytona 500. He was 7th going into the final lap. So it can and will happen here at Daytona. You can pretty much you can't rule out anything, I should say, at this racetrack. So John Van Varellis back there in 22nd, trying to get towards the front as these laps wind down. Jason Stewart also just outside the top 20. Mark Myers in the 04 machine. He is back there right now. Then you got a couple of the Will Worser Racing machines, as well as the number 24 of Alan Young. Haven't really mentioned his name all too much here tonight. Young Gun Creations on the hood of that number 24 machine. He will be in the Hacksaw PC's playoffs. There you saw him right behind the number 29 of Will Worsler. So, you said it. Have we said the winner's name? Well, I don't think there's any way to really be sure if we've said the winner's name here tonight, except that we went through every driver's name on the starting lineup. But definitely there could be storylines yet to be told here at Daytona here tonight.
26 cars currently on the lead lap. It's about to be 24 as 2 of these cars that they're going around right now, Knott and Bonner, are on the lead lap. Not anymore as they make their way through. That will make 24 cars on the lead lap. And Peter, of those 24, 22 of them are within 3 seconds of each other. John Van Varellis, tail end of the field, 22nd, less than 3 seconds from your leader, Brandon Stokes. That's just as it is right now. If we can get a caution, you're going to see a couple of other drivers deep in the field find their way back up here, Stallings and Biddle, the 2 that are still on the lead lap that are out of the mix right now. As there you see Alan Young, the 24. We've talked about him being a guy we thought was knocking on the door of a win, and a very quiet night for him in the number 24, but it's Daytona, wild card, anything can happen.
Yeah, remember Alan Young got that win in the Bosphorus Country Roads Harley-Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Cup Series at North Wilkesboro in that number 24 machine. He's definitely due a win here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. Hasn't yet seen it this season. We do have a car having a little bit of a connection issue. Not 100% sure who that might be. It looks like perhaps the number 52 of Grant Brown. As we have contact up at the front, Yazik's going around in the HPVsimulation.com Ford. Adam Drusky in the number 69 machine also involved, but the 55 slowing off the pace. He's going to be able to get that 55 back going. No caution here at Daytona. We'll see that one on the 3x TV replay here, Greg.
What happened here? This was for the race lead. Jersky and Yazik getting together. 2 of the strongest cars in the field all day. Suddenly, just like that, your top 2 deep in the field.
Yeah, we'll see this one from a little bit of an aerial view here. And watch the 55's movement. You saw that right there. He kind of weaved and wobbled there a little bit through the tri-oval. And the 69 of Jersey kind of stuck his nose right where it was. And they made that little bit of contact and a little bit of a bumper hook is what I'd like to say. And unfortunately, Yazik got the bad end of that stick as now he finds himself well down the order. He's trying to catch up to the back end of Joshua Biddle, who's one of the last cars on the lead lap, but nonetheless, we'll have to see if Yazik can get himself back up in front, but we have 20 laps to go, and Greg, I think we're about 5 laps away from some of these drivers really start to push it, some of the drivers towards the back to see if they can get back up to this lead group, but you can see this lead group, it really got broken up as we have cars coming down pit road, contact between the 27 of Baskins and Lee Staples in the number 26 machine. So we're starting to see some pit stops here as the field really starting to get broken up.
Yeah, the field got broken up with that incident between Yazik and Jersky. Here's a look at the replay at what happened between Staples and Baskins. Ooh, Staples was trying to come down pit road. Baskins wasn't quite clear, and that kind of forced Baskins' hand there to force him down pit road there, because I don't think that was his intention to come down pit road there, but when he ran into the back of Staples, suddenly he had to, because now he had to get the damage correct.
Yeah, the field also got a little bit broken up just from people pitting. The lead group of cars have yet to come down pit road, led by Jordan Harnish. But just because some cars elected to come down pit road, it gave a huge gap. And because of that, some drivers effectively lost that lead group. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. Expecting to see these cars on pit road here fairly shortly, although I do believe that a lot of these cars can go probably about 10 or so more laps before having to come down pit road when they're in danger of running out of fuel. So definitely starting to see a little bit different strategy out there here at Daytona.
Yeah, strategies start to come into play. These leaders right now, they still have yet to pit. Top 6 are all right here, and then Jay Crable is a lap down. He's the one on the outside. So top 6 right now breaking away. Stike's starting to lose some momentum in the number 57. He's starting to lose touch if he can get back up with Greg Evans. He will in the number 57. As Harnish continues to lead the way. These guys are 3.4 seconds ahead of the next group, which is being led by AJ Digby in the number 14. You got Jenkins, Orsler. You got pretty much all the rest of the Will Orsler racing cars there as well in that group behind Digby and Jenkins, whereas Craig Stykes up in front there. Grant Brown, Dirty Bird Sim Racing tucked on the back of that one. He's the caboose of this group that's coming down the front stretch now. Meanwhile, Harnish continuing to lead as we are inside the final third of this race. Going to be 15 to go next time by.
Now the big question is whether or not that second group of cars is catching the lead group. Between AJ Digby, that last lap ran a 44.9. Compare that to your race leader, Jordan Harnish, also ran a 44.9. So that second group is not gaining or losing on the front few cars right now. And of course, if you're AJ Digby, that's a little bit frustrating. You hope to try and catch that lead group to at least get a little bit of a sniff of that draft. But as of right now, nothing doing for that second group of cars. And now the lead group has caught up to a little bit of the lap traffic, including the 72 of Krovak. I haven't really mentioned his name all too much here tonight. Laupello Motorsports driver, HBBSimulation.com on the hood. James Lorello right behind him. And behind them, the 26 of Staples. All those drivers have elected to come down pit road, now find themselves one lap down. This is a little bit of a tough break for Jay Crable. Remember, he's one of those drivers just hoping to get a caution to get that lucky dog. I'm sure he's thinking after the 55 of Yazek went spinning, what do I need to do to get a good break here? But Crable now finding himself actually now 2 laps down. So I wonder if he was one of those drivers who elected to pit. Not 100% sure. Yeah, getting word he did come down pit road in that number 87 machine, but he's with that lead group. So that the field will continue to sort themselves out here as we now just have 14 laps to go.
Crable's asking himself, what button throws the water bottle out the window to bring out a debris caution here? That's what he's trying to figure out right now. Harnish leading the way, Stokes second, Sharp in third in the 03. And we've talked about it a couple times, Peter, just how impressive has Tanner Sharp been tonight in the Mountain Dew Chevy.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking back a little bit further now to the second group, they got a little bit racy. Will Worsler just went around the number 14 machine of AJ Digby, and you would think that second group would need to just kind of stay in line with one another and work together. They're not. They're racing right now coming out of turn number 4. The 7 of Jenkins and 14 of Digby on the inside groove. Will Worsler leading the outside groove with a couple of his Will Worsler racing teammates. They just got to start thinking about coming down pit road, hitting their marks, not overshooting pit road. The brake package that they use here on the Super Speedway, folks, is much different than what they use at any other racetrack. Very difficult to get these cars slowed down, especially from going 200 miles an hour. That second group continues to race one another as the 32 up at the front continues to lead over the 9 of Stokes. There is one of the Will Worsler racing machines, the only Will Worsler racing machine in the front group. That is the 57 of Craig Sykes leading that outside line. And now we've got a bunch of cars headed down pit road out of your lead pack, led down by the number 9 and the number 32. Stokes got on pit road a little bit better there than Harnish there, Greg.
About the only driver in that lead group that did not come down was Craig Stykes. I think he is staying out there to let his Will Worsler racing teammates catch up to him. Rest of the field on pit road. So Stykes A little bit ahead of them now, 3.8 seconds the gap, as Stipes is the only Will Worsler Racing car left in that front group. The rest of them are back there as Stipes tries to hang on. He's going to pit with the rest of his team. All these cars behind him right now, Peter, are laps down as Stipes, he's in communication with his teammates to figure out when they want to come down. But right now, all these lap cars are splitting them up.
Yeah, here's the good news for Craig Stipes. He's still got a couple of cars with him, so he's not losing that much time to a couple of the other cars. The bad news for Craig Stipes is when he comes down pit road, all the other cars that are around him have already come down pit road. And you and I know, Greg, that you want to be formed up with the other cars as well as you can when you roll off pit road so you can get up to speed as quick as possible. So he's going to be a little bit of a sitting duck when he heads down pit road. But like I said, the one good thing is he doesn't have to worry about getting run over from behind with that number 57 machine. Meanwhile, a couple of the cars back out there rolling on the racetrack, including Tanner Sharp in the 03 machine. Tanner Sharp was the big winner in that pit stop in the 03 as he was able to win the race off pit road, beating the number 9 and the number 2 machine. And there you can see the gap from Craig Stipes to Will Worsler. It is closing drastically there, Greg. 1 second last time by, Will Worsler was faster than Craig Stipes.
By the way, look at the charts. Will Worsler Racing 1, 2, 3, 4. Their satellite driver AJ Digby 5. The strategy is working right now in the Will Worsler Racing camp, but they still have to pit, and they've got the other drivers in this mix who still have yet to pit as well. You got Grant Brown, the caboose on that train, the second group right now. When will they pit? Here comes Stipes, and you can expect the rest of the team. Yes, he will. They all come down pit road, so this is it. I believe this is the last group that needed to pit.
Yeah, all of those drivers doing a great job getting down to their pit box. Now it's going to be imperative that they all hit their marks getting to pit road, because you and I know, Greg, that getting slowed down to pit road speed here is one thing, but getting into your pit box is another. Very easy to shoot through your pit box with that brake package that I was mentioning just a little bit ago. It looks like all those drivers doing a good job getting into their box, getting out of their box. Now it's going to be a question of where they line up versus some of the other drivers who have already come down pit road, including the number 9 machine of Brandon Stokes, who now leads that little train. There he is, right over the number 2 machine of Greg Evans. Evans trying to go double digits in the win column this season. iRacing iFlag on the hood of that number 2 machine. And look at this, Greg. They're passing those Will Worsler machines coming off pit road here halfway down the back.
They are, but Peter, I just figured out who is going to be the de facto race leader. He was involved in that incident a few laps ago. Adam Jersky is going to inherit the race lead here, provided he doesn't pit, and it looks like they're coming right now. So as I say that, he's going to duck it down pit road. So that will move the group of Stokes back into the lead. There they go by on the outside. So Jersky and Yazik for a split second were first and second again. Now Brandon Stokes is up in third position. John Van Varellis and Mark Myers coming off turn number 4 right now. They are the current leaders. This is them right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It is definitely interesting to see what you're seeing right now on your screen. There's a gap of the front 5 drivers or so, including Stokes, the number 2 of Evans, then Tanner Sharp in the 03 machine in third. Well, will be third when everything cycles out. Then Jimmy McKee, and then John Jenkins. But then look who's back behind them. Tyler Seville, who's kind of bridging the gap right now back to some of his Will Worsler Racing teammates, including Will Worsler, AJ Digby, Doug Mullins. And then you have one of the Glassdoor Brewing machines, Grant Brown. But the biggest loser in this whole deal, the 57 of Craig Stipes. Remember, he was part of that lead pack. Now he has lost the draft of a couple of his teammates in that number 57 machine. So he's going to have to drop all the way back to some of the other cars back behind him. So Stipes in that race machine. Meanwhile, the 78 of Van Varellis on pit road. That gives the race lead to this man right here, Mark Myers in the 04, still yet to pit in that race machine. We'll see a lot of these cars flash by here coming down the front stretch as Greg Evans in the 2 machine. He's trying to take the race lead here with just 5 more laps to go at Daytona.
Back to the race lead would be Greg Evans in the number 2. Mark Myers, he's going to go as long as he possibly can. He's still leading the way. This is the battle that's going to be for the lead when he pits as they cycle it out. Greg Evans has worked his way up to the lead. He's going for 10. Can it happen tonight?
This front group of cars, here comes Tanner Sharp in the 03 machine to the outside. Greg Evans getting a little bit of a nudge down the backstretch from the number 9 machine. And I bet you Craig Stykes in that number 57 machine back there, he's hoping this front group of cars just wad him up because he's not catching that lead pack right now.
To be for the lead, Mark Myers pitted on this time. He is on pit road. This will be for the race lead now. Greg Evans into number 2. Not lead the lap as his pit stall was ahead of pit road. 3 wide for the lead. This is now for the race lead. As here comes Stokes in the number 9.
And look at the 03 machine of Tanner Sharp. He doesn't have any help out there on that high groove. He's a little bit of a sitting duck here halfway down the backstretch. Not using any side drafting here to try and pull level with those cars. He's going to have to slot in line back behind the number 18, side by side with AJ Digby back there. Digby now up into the fray. What about Grant Brown? He started almost shotgun on the field in the number 52 machine. He's inside the top 10. We're going to have 4 laps to go, still side by side for the race lead. Greg Evans will take the race lead for the first time tonight.
Brandon Stokes did start shotgun on the field. He's in second. Peter, the top 3 cars that time by Greg Evans, Brandon Stokes, Jimmy McKee, all started outside the top 20. And then you've got Will Worsler, Tyler Seville. Here comes Grant Brown. They're making their way up. John Jenkins started inside the top 5, had the issue early on. He's not done yet. He's up in the mix for this. He's the regular season points leader. As they come down, we're inside 5 to go. Stokes inside, Evans outside. Who is it going to be?
And one thing that we're seeing right now is not only the 7 and the 2 running together. Remember, that is the battle for who wins the regular season here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. The number 7 of Jenkins coming into tonight just 1 point in front of Greg Evans. So that number 7 trying to do all he can. A little bit of damage on that 7 machine. He got that really early in the race. I think actually the first yellow of the night. Had a great job rebounding his way through the field as these leaders now starting to catch a little bit of lap traffic halfway down the backstretch. It will be 2 laps to go this time by.
Stokes leading, Jenkins second, side by side. Here comes Evans. Look out, they're going to be 3 wide with lap traffic. Everybody gets through. Worsler up there, he's trying to push Jenkins and Stokes out in front of Evans. McKee tucked in with Evans. The only 2 cars on the outside now are the 2 and the 8. Rest of them trying to sort it out. 2 to go for Brandon Stokes. He leads.
Will Worsler Racing had a spectacular pit stops. They were able to catch this lead group. They were a couple of seconds back behind him, and now we're talking about possibly Will Worsler Racing going to victory lane. That number 29 machine of Worsler sitting there on the inside groove right behind the number 7 machine, the 2 on the outside, and Jimmy McKee in the number 8 machine. He's due for a win here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. It'll be white flag this time as we're still side by side, and the 7 machine of Jenkins has blown a motor, and the 29 machine of Will Worsler gets involved in it. Digby also involved, and Tanner Sharp, who has had such a strong run here tonight, his night will end there. But it all happened when that number 7 machine went up in smoke, had a little bit of damage earlier in the race, Greg, and that might have been what led to that blown motor right there at the front of the field. Just such a terrible time to have that happen.
Unfortunate break, Peter. He was tucked in behind Stokes with the damage there, combined with being behind the number 9 on the back bumper. Water temp may have gotten too much to handle for the number 7. We go on board with him, and there you see it go. Will Worsler was right behind him, nowhere to go. Rest of the field sorted through on the outside, but man, that ended the day for some very fast cars. That is a heartbreak for Tanner Sharp in the 03. Had such a strong run. We go on board with him now.
Yeah, and the number 14 of AJ Digby as well on his right side, also involved in this one. You see, Tanner Sharp just tried to hold on to it. He held on to it for dear life and just got hooked up into that outside wall. And then spun like a top down the racetrack. What a tough break for that 03 machine. Like you said, Greg, had such a strong night going. Here we go one more time from the blimp cam. Down the backstretch, watch that number 7 machine grenade going off into turn number 3. Worsler tried to check up, Grant Brown couldn't see through that number 29 machine. It's so difficult, Greg, to see through these race cars. You can't really see through that rear windshield. I know they add a little bit of plexiglass to the rear spoiler to help that, but when something like that happens, it happens so quick that you don't have much time to react. Tough break for some of our front runners, but we will have a green-white checker here in just a little bit.
That is such a heartbreak for so many drivers. Will Borsler had worked his way up to the front. Tanner Sharp, AJ Digby, winner at Iowa, was looking strong there. Man, oh man, that is a heartbreak for these guys. Well, Peter, we're going to rack them, stack them, and we're going to try it again. We take one more look out the back bumper of Greg Evans. You see it all unfold there. That'll be your new points leader, because with Jenkins falling back that far, Evans will inherit the points lead and the regular season championship. Can he get double-digit wins? We are about to find out. 3 attempts at a green-white checker. Brandon Stokes leading the way, looking for win number 1 on the season.
And Greg Evans was going to enter the round of 12 here in the Hacksaw PC's playoffs with the points lead anyway, because he's the driver who has accrued the most bonus points over this season. In fact, he has accrued a significant amount of bonus points into the playoffs, the playoff points, if you will, here. And definitely, could end up as your regular season champion as well. Let's see possibly if that number 2 machine, let's see if we can possibly get a quick word with him here on 3Y TV. Let's see. Where is Mr. 2 Machine? I think we got him in Loud Pedal Motorsports channel. It's just a matter of getting him up here. But definitely been such a strong season for him here on 3Y TV. See if we can get a quick word with him. Well, unfortunately, seems like I'm struggling. Greg Evans, quick word with you here on 3Y TV. I know we're about to go back to green flag racing here shortly, but what's your strategy here for the last 2 laps?
Hope to finish. It's been a wild race so far. A lot of ups and downs. So we'll see what we got here. Hopefully the 18 will or 11 will give us a good push and we'll get to the lead and hold them off here.
All right. Well, we'll let you get back to it. Best of luck there, Greg.
Yes.
All right. Well, Greg Evans there in that number 2 machine, iRacing iFlag. A little bit of a new look on that race car this week, Greg, but you can't miss him in that bright red scheme.
He has a different scheme just about every week, Peter, but they always are some of the best-looking cars on the racetrack. Always look forward to seeing which car Greg Evans brings to the track this particular week, and this new red look is awesome, but I am so impressed with what Brandon Stokes has done tonight. And the inside going to be the control car on this restart. Started dead last, 37th, and here he is going for the win. He's going to be in control for the first of 3 green-white checkered attempts.
Before we go back to Green Flag Racing, also want to give a shout out to some of the other sponsors that make this Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series possible. DB Sim Racing, American Regardless, Glassdoor Brewing, Victory Lane Quick Oil Change, Kirkwood Transportation, Patriot Media and Marketing, Step Tire, and Falcon Race Wraps. Of course, Falcon Race Wraps sponsored last week's Falcon Race Wraps at the Glen. Great race. Make sure if you missed that one, you go back and watch it here on demand. But make sure you do that after this race, because we're about set for what is going to be a spectacular finish. Pace truck headed down pit road. This will be the first of 3 attempts at a green-white checker. The number 9 machine, Brandon Stokes, will lead us back to green flag. Good restart for the outside line, Greg. We've seen that all night long, that second groove very strong on the restart, with Greg Evans pulling level with the number 9 machine as they go off into turn number 1. 2 laps to go.
Giving a shove to Stokes into turn number 1 on the inside. Doug Mullins, the 18, still searching for that first Cup win. All 3 drivers here on the bottom line looking for their first wins of the season, and I believe all 3 looking for their first ever Cup win here in this series. Here comes McKee to the outside. He's going to get the shove from Evans. Jimmy McKee looking for it now.
The McKee Lawn Care Services number 8 machine, I mentioned just a minute ago that he is due for a win here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. Side by side for the race lead. You couldn't put anything between the front 2 as the white flag is displayed. McKee leads here at Daytona.
Have a race. We made it back to the white flag. Oh, Doug Mullins, Tyler Seville, Greg Evans sorted out. Side by side for the race lead, still in the turn number 1. Stokes getting back in the front.
That hurt that outside line tremendously. They're side by side now, back for around the 4th or 5th position. The 2 of Evans trying to get back to the back bumper of McKee. Here comes Mullins. Mullins going to jump to that high line. The 8 of McKee has nowhere to go but into the back bumper. Look at the high line. Now the 32 of Harnish and the 1 of Jason Stewart trying to work together. But for now, Mullins has the advantage. The 18 machine out front here, coming to the checkered flag at Daytona.
At the door, here we go. Drag race to the line. Mullins, Stokes, here comes McKee. 3 wide, McKee in the wall. It's going to be sliding across, head on into the wall, but he's got the win. Oh my goodness, upside down, and he brought it home. Peter, bring me the checkered flag or bring me the steering wheel. Brandon Stokes just did both.
That number 9 machine, he's still got enough power to do a little bit of burnout here. He doesn't need to do a burnout because he's smoking that number 9 machine back to the start-finish line. I bet you he doesn't think he's going to be able to make it back around to do any type of celebration, but Brandon Stokes going to go to victory lane, going up on his roof here. Doug Mullins going to come home in 2nd. Tyler Seville in 3rd. So Will Worcester racing 2nd and 3rd. James Lorello gets a 4th place out of that, but they were almost 4 wide coming to the start-finish line to see who was going to win. And that man right there, the number 9 of Brandon Stokes, getting the checkered flag here at Daytona. What a crazy and wild finish here once again. Daytona never ceases to give us great racing.
Unbelievable. Peter, but we're going to let these guys catch their breath before we catch up with our top 3. We still got to figure out exactly who the top 3 is as we get set. Post-race show coming up next here on 3Y TV. Don't go away.
Life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and SERVPRO.com.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic, real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Welcome to Sliced Pizza Bar, where we're passionate about great pizza. All of our food is made fresh daily using only the finest ingredients and techniques. Our chefs put their heart and soul into each pie, and we're sure you'll taste the difference. Located on both the Indian Rocks and Madeira beaches, chances are we're right around the corner for your next pizza night or dinner date. Come give us a try and experience the slice difference.
All right, folks, welcome back to Daytona International Speedway, where tonight's Round 7 of the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown Firecracker 200 has come to a conclusion. We're going to go back and watch this in slow motion, folks, because watch what happens here coming out of turn number 4. We go 4 wide. The 32 of Harnish trying to get his nose to the high side of McKee, but they make contact right there. McKee going up into the outside wall. Watch the battle for the race lead. The 9 and the 18 haven't come together. Look at the 11 of Seville just squeaking on by. It's chaos back behind that battle for the race lead. Mullins and Stokes come together, and that number 9 machine here gets loose, gets turned up into the outside wall. 24 into the outside wall. The 8 of McKee smashed up against the fence. This was just craziness coming across the start-finish line. There you see the 72 of Crowbot going around. And watch this from turn number 1 I think all you see is smoke and cars flipping across the racetrack as you see the number 9 take flight. I know Microsoft Flight Simulator came out today, but that's not how you want to take flight here at Daytona, Greg. I mean, that is just nuts.
Unbelievable. Let's see. Let's go on board with Doug Mullins in the 18. Drag racing with Stokes. Right there's the contact coming to the line. Wow.
And look at that out back. Just craziness happened back there. Good job by Lorello to sweep through all that chaos and get himself up towards the front. Here we go on board with Stokes. There's that contact. And some people might think that Stokes went down there below the yellow line. I got to say, I think he was kind of forced down there. He was kind of holding his line before that contact with the number 18 of Mullins. But when they made contact, that's what forced him down there. And good job holding on to that race car just enough to get across the start-finish line. Here we go on board with the 24 of Alan Young. And just like that, that racetrack is clogged up. Oh, man, cars just spinning at his face. Sam Crow there in the number 5 machine going up and over. Let's see if we can get possibly a ride on board with that number 5 machine, at least another look. Here we go. I think this is Sam Crow. Watch this craziness happen. Not really seeing anything. Gets turned right there at the end. Gyro can gets a workout. Up and over, up and over, up and over. Sam Crow coming to a rest on all 4 wheels, but a couple of cars there having quite the accident right at the end of this race.
Unreal, Peter. What a finish here at Daytona. The entire field getting collected in that one, and I'm glad that that was coming to the checker because, again, the entire field got collected in that one. If that was at the white, we wouldn't have had a race to the finish.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, let's see if we can dial up some of those post-race interviews for you guys, including the number 11 machine of Tyler Seville. Tyler, what a crazy finish here tonight at Daytona. I mean, it looked like at one point that you were in that second group of cars that you wouldn't be able to catch the lead pack. The pit stop worked out really nicely for you. You got that caution there towards the end, able to regroup and get a top 3. Tell us a little bit about your night.
Yeah, I had the strategy of I was just going to hang back at least for the first half and then try to work my way up there towards the middle, and it worked out that there towards the end we were able to get all WWR cars lined up with AJ in line with us, so we knew we had good speed. And then when that caution came out there at the end, it took out some of my teammates, but thankfully Doug and I were able to start up front, and then it's just a mess trying to get to the finish on a green-white checker here. So I'm really pleased with third.
Yeah, you were able to squeak through right there at the end. Tell us a little bit about the stress level here at Daytona. You know, this is one of those racetracks where, it isn't necessarily the hardest racetrack to drive. You're full throttle for 90 to 95% of the lap, depending on where you are in traffic. If you're out front, of course, 100% of the lap. But this is definitely one of those racetracks that it's really stressful to get around this place, especially there at the end. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's almost like you're in a no-win situation. If you hang around at the back like I tried to do, you hope you can get slowed down if there's a wreck in front of you. You hope people behind you can get stopped. Or if you choose to be up front, you could be right there in the cause of the accident. I think right there halfway, Will and I were running, I think around 20th, and we decided we wanted to see if we could get up towards the top 10. And within a lap or lap and a half, we were able to get up there behind, I think, Doug at the time. So, yeah, it gets really stressful when you get in traffic, just because one slight move could send somebody up the track and cause a 20-car pileup.
And we saw that a couple times here tonight, unfortunately. But, hey, you come home with a third place. And, of course, you are one of the Hacksaw PC's premier playoff drivers. Tell us a little bit about your outlook here for the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a great playoff. I feel like I've had a pretty good momentum boost going here in the past few weeks, and WWR, we're ready to go in these playoffs with Will and I swinging, and hopefully one of us gets the title at the end of the season.
Absolutely. We have the number of races winding down here over the season. 12 drivers making the playoffs. You're one of them. So congratulations on that. Before we let you go, Tell us a little bit about your sponsors, some additional shout outs, and tell us a little bit about that really cool paint scheme that you were sporting here tonight.
Yeah, always got to thank Slice and Perky Pints as well as my team. We put in a couple practices for this race just to see how the draft, what that played into my strategy because of how darty the cars are. But yeah, with the night race, a couple of us, Will and AJ, we all decided maybe let's try something different. And so I just took the black and switched it to white for this race. And I think it really popped on the track tonight.
Absolutely, it did. And it popped into a top 3. So once again, a little bit of momentum going into the playoffs for you, Tyler. We'll see you next week at Darlington.
All right, great. Sounds good. Thanks.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for your third place finisher here tonight. And I believe that Greg Rentz has caught up with his teammate, the number 18 of Doug Mullins.
Yeah, Doug Mullins, Greg Rentz, 3YTV, got a copy.
How's it going, guys?
I think I'm going to ask you the same question because we're still trying to process what happened there coming to the checkered flag.
Well, I mean, I have to just, I don't know either, really. Going back and looking at it and whatnot. I mean, it was, I feel like my hands hurt from how hard I was gripping the steering wheel. When coming out of 4, I knew I had a run, and I started to make my way down because I thought I'd be able to just clear Stokes and completely cleanly and get down there. And as soon as I heard clear, I tried to make my move down, and as soon as I got, I don't know, maybe 20% of the way across his nose, I haven't went back and looked. I heard Carlo, and I don't know what it was about, if there's a build or something that they changed some of the physics in this car, but it was very hard to push somebody, and I knew that if I clipped myself over his bumper, I was going to go for a ride probably into the pit wall, and probably drop back a good ways. And I didn't want to ruin nobody else's race on purpose and whatnot. So as soon as I heard that, I came back up, which would eventually put me in a 3 wide. And at that point, it's just hang on and try to come away with it. And I don't really know exactly what happened with Stokes. I don't know if I come down into his lane. I don't know if he was down below the racing surface and come up. I haven't really got to look at it all yet. I know I was down there and come to the line. It was pretty nuts.
Doug, you were kind of hanging back there with your Will Borster Racing teammates the entire race, kind of just hanging out there and just riding your time and waiting for your chance to strike. And tell us about your communications with the team as when you guys decided, okay, go time.
Yeah, I mean, really, once again, I feel like anytime that I've gotten an interview from you guys and being on the podium, I've given that kind of back to the team instead of just with them. If it was for me, I probably would have tried to run up into the pack a little bit more. There was some chaos going on up in the pack, but talking to them, we were talking all race. They made the call. Let's kind of hang back. Let's hit when we do, and eventually it gave me a second place finish, listening to my teammates.
All right, well, regular season wrapping up, and it's a push now for the rest of the season. What are your plans going into these final 10 races of the season?
Well, my number one goal will be to try to practice and push my teammates that are in the hunt. I want to be a resource for them to practice things with and whatnot. Just like we've done here in the second half, I feel like our team has turned it on, to another level. But I'm not laying down. I'll tell you that. I'm going to race. I feel like I finally kind of gotten a little groove, and I'm not planning on stopping. Even though I'm not going for a playoff spot, I'm gonna make sure that I'm not ruining somebody's race in a playoff spot, but I'm gonna keep on racing just as hard as I am right now.
All right, well, Doug, a second place here tonight at Daytona. Wild race. You got some shout outs you want to give?
Yeah, Slice Pizza Bar. I'd like to thank them. I'd like to thank my teammates. Again, like I said, I wouldn't have had a chance. They gave me a chance to win this race, and maybe if I do something different there at the very end, I might get that win. So, thanks to them for giving me the opportunity. Jim and Sam, it's been a pretty good regular season. They did a good job here this season. SERVPRO for sponsorship on the series, and Nikki Worcester, of course, biggest fan of WWR. It's always nice knowing that somebody's watching.
All right, that's second place, Doug Mullins. Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
And I believe Peter Short has made his way down the victory lane with a guy who was on his lid coming across the strike. Brandon Stokes, your winner.
Yeah, I'm down here in victory lane with driver of that number 9 machine, and Brandon started tonight shotgun on the field. It's pretty interesting because the front 2 drivers who started tonight finished almost last, and then you, who started last, ended up going to victory lane. So definitely an eventful night for you in that number 9 machine. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, man. The first part of the race, me, Chris, and John just kind of wanted to stay out of trouble and just ride and get through the first 2 roughly cautions. And through the middle portion of the race, I don't know what happened with me in the 99, but it kind of caused chaos there because I think I was 3rd and he was 4th right there on the outside line. We were just jockeying for position there. But either way, if it's my fault, I apologize. And getting ready to pit there, it was pretty intense, but everything went well, man. I got into pit road pretty hot and made some time up there, and me and the 03 I think got out there and got going, and me and the 2 hooked up, and we just took it from there. And then that last caution with John blowing up, kind of feel bad for that deal, but I don't know if y'all have calculated yet, but what the points were, but overall, man, it was a good night. That green-white checker was pretty intense, man. I was white-knuckling it all the way through.
Yeah, I was actually just mentioning to Tyler just a little bit ago, saying how stressful this racetrack is. It's one of those racetracks that is fairly easy to run at. I mean, you come here at Daytona, you stay flat out through qualifying, you stay flat out if you're the race leader, but it's all the cars around you in the close proximity, jostling around at 200 miles an hour. Tell us a little bit about that from your perspective.
It's awesome, man. It's the closest thing to reality that I've, obviously I would probably ever experience, cup driving or anything like that. But, it's, you get a feel for it. The car kind of, the big runs that you're getting, you're having to let off, down the middle of the back sometimes, and you don't want to shove a guy into 3 too hard, especially going into the tri-oval there. Just little things and little details that make sense, and little kind of feel like Dale Earnhardt, playing with the air sometimes and just trying to figure out backing people up and trying to see what runs I could get, and setting stuff up like that. But it's a blast, man.
Well, definitely a fantastic race for you here tonight. Of course, next week we do go to Darlington. It's a little bit of a throwback event. Will we see you at Darlington, and do you have a throwback in mind?
I'm still talking with my team manager about what we're going to throw it back to. If I'm going to be able to make it, I may be busy working, so still a toss-up, but I hope to be at Darlington. That's one of my favorite tracks, probably top 5 tracks in all the races that we run, so hopefully I can show up and put on a show, man.
Yeah, hoping to see that Momentum Sim racing machine back out there on the racetrack next week. But before I let you go, I'm sure you got some shout-outs for us here tonight.
Oh, yeah, man. I want to give a shout-out to the team, man. John, Chris, and Jordan. FXR, Northland Leisure. George, brother, he does a lot for us, man. This win's for you. My first one of the season and first one overall in the Premier Series. And my fiance, about messed up there. Give a shout out to her and my parents and my buddies that are watching. And y'all for doing the broadcast, man. It's always fun to watch the replays when I'm at work or, just watching them. And that's about it. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, Brandon. Don't feel bad about yourself. I've called my wife my girlfriend before. That's an even bigger boo-boo. I've made that one before, but congratulations on getting engaged, and best of luck. Hopefully we get to see you on track next week at Darlington.
Sounds good, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, well, that is going to wrap it up for the post-race interviews. And Greg, I think we have to go through tonight's finishing order, because if you guys looked at the ticker going into the last lap, it looked a lot different after that checkered flag had been thrown, just due to that craziness that all happened there. Greg, why don't you take it away?
All right, your race winner was Brandon Stokes, Doug Mullins in second, Tyler Seville in third. Then this is where we had to reset. Coming home in fourth was James Lorello in the number 3, Jordan Hart, rounding out your top 5. Michael Krobach came home 6th. Greg Evans wound up 7th. Mark Myers a top 10 in 8th. Brian Yazik led 20 laps throughout the course of the day. He comes home in 9th. Jason Stewart was up in the top 10 at the end of that one. He finished 10th, Peter.
Yeah, in the 11th position here tonight was none other than the number 69 machine of Adam Jersky in the Beef Jersey Cheesecake machine. John Van Varellis in the number 78 machine comes home in 12th. We'll see if we get these race results changed to the next page so you can read while I talk. Jimmy McKee comes home in 13th position. Alan Young in the number 24 machine in 14th. Lee Staples in 15th in the number 26 machine. Grant Brown comes home in 16th. That's a bit of a tough break for Grant Brown because he had such a strong night going in that Glassdoor Brewing Chevrolet. Pete Baskins in the DMLC Racing Channel number 27 in 17th. Tanner Sharp had an excellent night going until right there at the end when the number 7 machine did blow a motor. A bit surprised to see Tanner Sharp able to stick in that number 03 machine, but he's a fighter and able to come home with the top 20. Joshua Biddle in the number 80 machine, didn't really mention him all night long. He was one of those drivers who elected to kind of stay in the back all night long, but he comes away with the top 20. And Craig Sykes round out the top 20 finishers here tonight, Greg.
First was Will Worcester. He was caught up in the caution before the green-white checkered, so he was the final car on the lead lap. Then you had Jay Crable, Richard Stallings, Clarence Bonner, the Tabasco Fiasco. Tim Knott ran 25th. Sam Crow, 26th. He was the points leader going in, but I think he lost out on the regular season championship. We'll have to see once the points are set. John Jenkins in the 27th position. AJ Digby, Todd Kirkwood, and Jackson Van Valkenburg round out your top 30 there, Peter.
In the 31st position was the number 50 of Christopher Bouchard. He did qualify for the playoffs as the number 84 Winnie Mahan, a few spots below him down there, had troubles as well. 32nd position, number 6 of Jared Haggerty. The 33rd position, the 01 of Bradley. The Brookside Equipment Sales, number 44 of Michael Whiting, had trouble here tonight, coming home 34th. Woody Mahan, like I mentioned just a few seconds ago, he was trying to get into the top 12 in points. He misses out, unfortunately, with early race troubles himself in 35th. Cody Spiker started the race in P1 on the pole, was the pole award winner, but unfortunately, him and Ed Bray collected in the same incident at the same time. Ed Bray also started on the front row, so front row was not where you wanted to start here tonight at Daytona. Gotta say, Greg, that is a pretty common occurrence at Daytona. Really, your starting position doesn't matter all too much in the end, but definitely a tough break for those two drivers here. Of course, next week we got the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown, race number 8 at Darlington. It's going to be a throwback event. Don't want to miss it here on 3 Wide TV because those throwback paint schemes are absolutely top-notch here in the American Sim Racing Series Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series, so very much looking forward to that. But before we go, got to give a huge shout out to our friends over at SimTV for the camera angles that we gave you here tonight. But for myself, Peter Short, Greg Rentz, and Carlos Acosta, we'll see you on Thursday night for the Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Cup Series. It will be a great time. Make sure you join us. But we'll see you guys then, and have a good evening. See ya!